Nicholas Lidstrom, Jerome McGinley, Martin Brodeur, Jaromir Jagr, and Timur Solani. Those are just a handful of the star players from the 2000s, a time when there is abundance of talent in the NHL. With Wayne Gretzky retiring the year before the 2000s in 1999, the NHL now did not have a bona fide best player. This was a trend that would stick throughout the decade, as no player led the league in points twice during the 2000s. The decade saw the Detroit Red Wings continue their dominance as they made the playoffs every season in the decade, as well as winning the Stanley Cup in 2002 and 2008. The end of the decade also showed the beginning of the Chicago Blackhawks dynasty when they won the Cup in 2010, as they went on to win 2 more Stanley Cups in 2013 and 2015. We also bore witness to a pair of teams lifting their first Stanley Cup, the Tampa Bay Lightning in 2004 and the Carolina Hurricanes in 2006. The year 2000 itself also saw 2 new teams added to the NHL to bring the total number of teams from 28 up to 30. These 2 franchises were the Minnesota Wild and the Columbus Blue Jackets. These teams boasted a few great players like Rick Nash for Columbus and Mikko Koivu from Minnesota. The Wild were definitely the better expansion team during the 2000s, as they made the playoffs 3 times during the decade, even making the conference finals in 2003. The best teams of the decade in terms of winning percentage in the 2000s were the Detroit Red Wings, the New Jersey Devils, and the Dallas Stars. The worst team in terms of winning percentage was the Atlanta Thrashers, now known as the Winnipeg Jets. The best part of the 2000s, though, was all the young talent that was on display, just like Evgeny Malkin, Jason Spezza, Ryan Getzlaf, Anze Kopitar, Daniel and Henrik Sedin, and Joe Thornton. Of course, I am leaving out 2 big names on that list of young stars, Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin. From the very beginning of their NHL careers, these 2 were constantly compared to one another. They seemed to love the competition between one another, as they battled to one-up each other at every turn. Ovechkin won the Calder in the rookie season. Crosby came back and won the league MVP trophy the next season in 2007. Ovechkin did the same thing in the next season in 2008. Crosby led his team to a cup in 2009. Their back-and-forth competition kept the league fresh and exciting throughout the back half of the decade. We also saw many players depart from the game in the 2000s. Some of the best to retire from the NHL in the decade were Alexander McGinley, Matt Sundin, Paul Kariya, Al McGinnis, and Sergei Fedorov. A part of what made the 2000s such a great era of hockey was how much the game was changing. Gone were the days where goalies would very rarely leave their feet in the net, and by the year 2000, the butterfly and the hybrid goalie styles were all the rage. With goalies making big improvements, the average goals per game took a sizable dip in the 2000s. The goalies weren't the only ones making changes though. Throughout the 2000s, we saw the NHL become a faster and more skilled environment. The change from the forward started when they realized that the goalies were evolving, and it no longer just took a slap shot from the point to beat them consistently. The forwards knew they now had to use deception and different moves to trick the goalies, and we really saw that with Pavel Datsyuk, He was a pioneer of the skill moves we now see so often in the NHL today. With the NHL game speed increasing, it made a better product on the ice, which helped to grow the game of hockey throughout the decade. I think what made this decade so special was the fact that the game was speeding up with so much skill involved. It gave hockey a fresh feeling to the fans, as every game you're seeing skill moves you didn't think were possible. To wrap this up, I think everyone watching hockey in the 2000s realized how much the game was changing, and they were all really excited to see where the game was headed. Thank you all for watching, and check out my video on Shane Wright. See you guys next time.